Can you receive donations before your 501c status?
And the
501c
donor,
status?
and the donor still gets the credit for it. Once the bar approval.
I'm leaving all compliance questions to our expert right here. She got it.
So it depends on the donor, right? It really depends on the donor. You can receive it, but let them know you sent in your application and you're waiting. So just be transparent with them, okay? Because what will also happen, federal take forever, your exemption will come through. Let's just say it comes through in August. They will backdate it to February, right, when you maybe submitted your application. So your exemption will actually be active as of February, even though you received the letter saying you're good to go in August. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
If your nonprofit is established but no 501c3 status as of yet, you still file the tax.
No. Because technically you're not an organization yet.
So that 3-year limit doesn't apply until your status.
So tell me this, is it because you've been operating and you just didn't submit your application and you just been riding dirty? Or you just,
Riding dirty.
Medical emergency.
let's talk.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, and then you, Chris.
And so, with the nonprofits, my legal operation consists of my setup, getting my articles and all the things in place, and making sure that everything that I do is aligned with the mission. Is there any other legalities or things that I need to be aware of in the day-to-day? You know, somebody come knock on my door, and how you come talk to me about this, or what have you, just the day-to-day.
And is it just a random question or is it
Yes,
related?
ma'am, I just want to be clear about like, just being in line with the law, and what that is for nonprofit, yes.
You just want to make sure you're staying according to your mission and operating in that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
because that's so nuanced, it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Okay.
Use your best judgment.
Right.
Have a legal person on your advisory board, your board, whatever, should anything come up. Have insurance though, right? Make sure you have insurance. And then also there is insurance for your board members and just liability in general. Okay? I think it was the first one.
I have a question about the 1023 EZ for the long form. I worked with a nonprofit and they were going after some funding and they weren't able, they didn't qualify because they did the EZ as opposed to the long form. Well, yes, so.
Is that the question?
That's, yeah, basically, yes, that's my question, so that's still the case, so potentially, it may be better just to take the longer route and disseminate all the information for the long form as opposed to the EZ.
Correct. So it does really depend on, like I said, your goals for your organization. If you know, we have the resources and we are gonna go for a larger amount grant, then go ahead and do the long form. But some people we just don't have the resources, right? We wanna start small and then grow to that. And if it ever comes up, so like you said, they went and applied, they probably had other resources already in line to even be eligible to apply for a grant such as that. So it just really depends on the goals of the organization.
And that long form is, you said what is it, 800? I think it's 800 now.
600 for the long form.
Okay. Is it go up? I thought it went up to 800.
I feel like it was 800 before and it went down. I'm not sure. But double check, please double check, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
With sponsorship letters, like what's corporate partnership, best practices to follow, or is there a template anywhere?
Yeah, okay, ask the question one more time. I think I heard you, but you're talking about corporate sponsorship.
Yeah.
Okay, and then ask what you were telling me.
Oh, sure. It was about, it was said about like offering a sponsorship letter to like a corporation. about like best practices for writing that? I guess I could use ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, I think when I have historically seen corporate sponsorship letters done, one, I think he gave us so much leverage with using technology. I think the thing that he made sure to reiterate to you guys is don't just become so reliant and dependent on it that you don't even use your own thoughts to kind of correct and refine. We see it happen where it's like you just copy and paste. It's like it's a tool to give you the foundation and kind of make it easier. But with corporate sponsorship letters, I would definitely, one, if you're going to use technology, copy the mission and vision of the company that you're looking to sponsor with, and also tell them, I'm looking to get corporate sponsorship with this organization. This is their mission and vision, and this is mine. What language can I use to show them that there's an alignment between our organizations? That's the approach I would take, because what you want to do is speak their language, and you want to show them why what I'm doing is actually deeply in line with what you say you want to do in the community. That would be the space where I would come from with that. Did that help?
Here. Y'all got it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a question for Mark. If you have an actual physical location that you need to have your space, can you get that sponsored, or did you pay for it, or how did that?
So again, like I said earlier about like, God wanted us to do this work. It literally, when we signed our lease, we didn't have the funding at all. We just signed it. And then as we continue to do it, Rashonda knows, like, she was like, just building this rapport with community members, knowing that, we need funding and things like that. But sometimes when that happens, we're like, we want to pour into the community while we're doing this double-dutch dance of like, how do we also ask for funding, knowing that we're trying to pour back into the community, right? So we had to, again, leveraging LinkedIn, leveraging different platforms to be able to really nourish relationships. So, and then again, when it comes to I have 3 leases, right? So I have 2 upstairs plus the museum, right, in the same location, right? And then I was recently, I'm glad that you touched on just not only using technology for certain things. Recently, I was in escrow to purchase a building in Compton, right? And I was so excited, I was great. I was like, Rashawn was like, oh man, great, all things. But we made the decision to pay like a great attorney to make sure we had the proper representation. And they try to get us in terms of like selling us the property while like not owning half of the parking lot. So we lost $15,000 just from that situation, right? But like knowing that those things, like you can only use technology but so much, you do need the proper representation. You really do. But when it comes to getting a space, really crowdfunding is a great thing, a great source. Like, don't think that you can't crowdfund. Don't think that you can't, post some things on TikTok, like make a challenge, like, hey, how much money did you give this month to an organization or something like that. Like, create some form of awareness so that way you can get that physical location. And then don't sleep on partnerships. Just because it doesn't have your name doesn't mean it's not a space that you can really operate, right? So like these churches that are like not being used, Monday through Saturday, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got a space, you know what I'm saying? Just got a cross on the front. It's fine, like, even if you don't believe, but it's something that you can do, you know what I mean, to make sure that you're able to get what you need and also to service the community.
All right.
So I think one of the things is understanding that leasing is an option. If you're thinking I need a building, not feeling like you can function until you have the purpose of the building, recognize that you might be able to lease a space that you can do what you need to, which is a lower overhead cost. I have another question, because we were kind of talking a little bit. What is your suggestion around being able to do programming before you get a space? So I know sometimes people are like, I need to get into a physical space to do X, Y, and Z to a certain degree, but like, is it creatively done, or can they build a nonprofit with executing programs as they're securing space? Or what would that suggestion be on that side? I know my opinion, but-
So what I actually did when I first started, I went to the Urban League. We didn't have a physical space, but they let us use their space. right? So you go to the org, and we were doing something different than what they offered, so that's the other thing. We were bringing in programming that they didn't offer, right? We did it at a church. They had a community center or what, a rec center, right? So no, you don't need your own physical space. Again, you have to think outside of the box. Where are these other spaces? And just as an example, one of my clients and friends, they opened up a community, a resource center, wellness center, right? But there is 6 organizations that work out of that one spot, right? They all pay rent. Now the calendaring is interesting because everybody wants to have programs, but they all pay rent and they have a physical location. So again, you have to think outside of the box. You don't necessarily have to be the one, but go out in the community and see where spaces are not being used and just have that conversation, okay? You can rent space, right? Like at the Crenshaw Mall, there's a community room that is for rent.
And then if you are a nonprofit, they can use it for free.
Nonprofit?
Yeah.
Yes, and I've used it multiple times,
What?
right? And the pricing is not that bad. So you just have to think outside the box and talk to people. Where do you do your programming? Where do you do programming? Ask questions.
Also, like, you know, don't like forget about our libraries. Like,
Yes.
we can partner with them because they also want the programming. Another thing too, a friend of mine, like, we all went through the pandemic. We all survived that. So there were people doing like virtual different programming, like all over. So a friend of mine, he had a pop-up place where you would come and get like art supplies or cooking supplies, and then he would do like a cooking night. So every Friday, you know, everybody's jumping on the Zoom and everybody's cooking. So there's opportunities to leverage that. Just wanted to say that.
I agree. I used to own a community co-work space, but before I would do workshops and seminars anywhere in the community. So by the time I got the space, I had already learned and got the data, perfected my programming, had an audience, as opposed to sometimes we're waiting until we hit that big benchmark, and then by the time we get there, we realize, oh dang, I didn't, build out the program, and I didn't fine-tune my audience, and I didn't identify my partners. So I hope that helped with a few different options, and at least gave you guys something to think about as far as like how to shorten the timeline to execution. Good. Okay, I forgot the order. 1 second. One second. It's back. You remember what was that? I think right here.
Somebody over here.
And then.
Oh, was you? Yeah, okay.
With the braid.
So I wanted to ask, is there a yearly fee to the IRS for a nonprofit?
No. You are tax exempt. Just file your taxes, right? There is no yearly fee. What I will say though, every other year you have to submit your statement of information, right? And that's just to update if your board members are the same, if your address changed, but that's every other year. That is a compliance thing. But there is no, like California, there's no California tax or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's back in the corner.
The statement of information, you said that's every other year? Is there a fee for that?
I believe it's $25.
And then what you just said, so you have to file your taxes every year regardless of if you are inactive. You have to do that.
Yes, because they will revoke you if you do not file your taxes. I believe it's 3 years of not filing, automatic revoke.
Whoa.
They probably will charge you, again, the same application fee to reinstate you.
Yeah, because my CPA, she does everything for me. I don't
Okay. Just keep her accountable as well. If somebody else is doing it, put it in your calendar as a notification. So if you started your organization this year, when we were 25, so then in 27, that statement of information is due. Put a calendar reminder now that is due, right? So anytime you need any type of reminders, I know we were talking about accountability and remembering, set up your calendar so that it reminds you when you have these things that are due.
And also, I want to encourage you to be cautious, and this goes across the board, to just turning something completely over and not having any hands on it. It's one thing to hire and have an expert, and that's what they're there for. A good accountant, a good attorney, a good C are absolutely vital. But if you can't read your documents and at least understand it on the base level, that puts you in a very vulnerable and compromising situation. I worked with a client who was looking to access capital, and when we went over how her tax accountant actually filed her business taxes, she had no idea. And it actually put her in a space where she wasn't able to access funding despite bringing in a certain amount of revenue. And we told her stuff about her taxes that she had no idea. So I'm just saying it's great to have an expert team, but also don't so far remove yourself that you don't know what's going on within your business.
Have meetings with them,
Absolutely.
okay? With my bookkeeping clients, we have a standing meeting every single month so that they understand what I'm doing and I understand what their goals are. Same thing for your accountant, your tax person, tax planning, whatever that is, just like Jasmine.
Absolutely. My accountant, I said, I'm looking for someone who's going to educate me while supporting my business. So he already knew when you're, tell me what this is, tell me, like, be sure that you're asking questions and you're having people explain things to you so that you don't find yourself on the other side of something that you're the one accountable for it, even though you didn't necessarily do it, but just in general, be educated enough that you know what's going on.
And let me just say this last thing. If they don't want to have a meeting for it with you, that is not your person.
Oh.
Okay, I think it's here and then here. Go ahead, John.
When you submitted your applications, did you use your home address if you did not have an office space?
That's a good question. Dale said.
That information would be available to everyone.
Does anyone, and then also, can you mention if or not they should be using any virtual addresses and phone numbers? I heard that question as well.
All right. So no, you do not want to use your home address because it is just readily available. Anybody can search that, right? Now, you can use a virtual address, but here's the caveat to that. It needs to be a building that is not a P.O. box, not the post office, not mailbox, etc. It needs to be a physical location, okay? So you think of office building. So there's a place, Da Vinci. You can search them. Regis. And then there's also another website, but you really have to do your research on it. It's Anytime Mailbox. Premier, yes. Okay, so those will give you physical building addresses. Now it still will give you a PMB, like your post mailbox number, but it still is, and I'm just using this because that's my building, 5777 West Century Boulevard. That's the address, but then our suite number, and then whatever your box number is. So you want it to be an exact address. Don't do the post office, right? Because the other thing is, and this is for the entrepreneurs in the building as well, when they search that address, they know you're not doing your business out of the post office.
That's true.
But when it's a physical building, office building, multiple floors, probably, right?
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you're using an address that is a physical address. Not a strip mall, like I said, not, grandma and grandpa's mailbox, whatever, right? You want it to be a physical office building.
Well, what they say you mailed that place?
So with those services, what they'll do, they'll still scan it to you. It'll still be online. They have options where you can go pick it up, but you can also physically just tell them to scan everything. You can see it. Do I want it? No, trash it, or I'm gonna come pick it up. Yep. Nope. Statement of information, you update that. Yep.
I know we got lots of, I promise y'all, we're gonna get to them, don't worry, I see you. Go ahead.
She had mentioned Da Vinci Regis and Anytime Mailbox and Premier. She mentioned one before the Da Vinci. What was that one?
I think the Vinci was the first one.
So it's only for the Da Vinci Regis, Anytime Mailbox and Premier?
Yes.
Okay.
There's more, so you can do virtual, you can just Google virtual mailbox.
Okay, then when she asked about the fee, what came to my mind about some of the piece of that $50 fee to the state of California as a charitable organization, is
When you, every year, how much, is it a charge every year? I don't have a problem.
You already told you, why do that?
I'm not sure if there's a fee to, I don't think there is a fee to file that one when you update your California
You
charity.
know what I'm saying, in the beginning phases, it was stating in some of the steps that there's a $50 fee to take the state of California for being a charitable organization.
That might, you have to go to the, it's called California Charities.
But is that mandatory or is it an optional thing?
It is mandatory.
It is, okay.
Because you can fall out of compliance for not filing.
Yeah.
Okay, wait,
How often is it? I didn't get the answer.
Annual.
It is annual.
Yeah, but not the fee. I think you just do that one time. But not to file, but not to do it every year. You just, when you first your initial, but then every year, I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
here and then here.
I just wanted to make a quick statement about the PO boxes, the anytime boxes, and all the virtual mail boxes. So I had an experience where I was able to file my 501c3 with the virtual mailbox, right? But then when it came to actually going to get my page number from sam.gov and all of that good stuff, I was denied because it came up as a PO box. So what I ended up having to do is I ended up having to, and you can't use your home address either. So when you try to use your page number to apply for grants, it'll come up as your home number or the PO box. So what I ended up doing is just bringing a space at someone's office to be able to apply for grants. So I can get my page number.
And that's probably because how that entity set up their thing at the post office.
And you know, what I didn't realize, to do your research, I didn't realize that the place that I had picked was an actual PO box.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Just be mindful, like just be mindful.
And you go right on the postal office website, and whatever address that they're looking at, enter that address, and it will tell you, if it's a virtual office, it will say yes or no before you even invest in that, and basically shoot yourself in the foot. Just check the address at the post office.
Thank you for that. Let's come right here. And then-
Yeah, I'd just like to know, if you have a nonprofit foundation, are you still entitled for grants and sponsorships and donors and things of that
So
nature?
I think that we covered that.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're just clear on what it is that you do. That you have to make it clear that you are not a grant-making foundation. So that's the tricky part, since you have that on the back
Oh,
of your name.
so you wouldn't be entitled to grants?
You can, but I'm just saying, you have to make sure you make it very clear that you yourself are not a grant-making, like you don't give grants.
Oh,
You just have
okay.
to make that clear on your.
So if you're a foundation, you can get grants and disperse that money as a foundation, but not through the means of grants?
But that's the thing, if you named your organization and you put that foundation on the end, that's the thing. So it's not necessary that he's a foundation like a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but he put that in the title in his name of his organization. So
Okay,
that's the thing,
at
that's-
the end, you say?
Right, because
So what if it's like Veterans Foundation Relief? The foundation is.
that word,
Yeah.
It's still,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah. Tricky part.
Yes, sir. And then we'll come back around on the side.
I'm up. Okay. My name is Samuel Mark. I have a building that's about 8,000 square feet. Within that building is a church, used to be a church, a homeless shelter. Someone was asking about the place is empty and I get sprinklers in there, so it's going to be empty for the next 2 to 3 months before your funding gets the sprinklers inside the building. So
because we already know. Okay, let me see if I can explain this. So, okay, so BSCDC, Vermont Slauson, is the Business Source Center. It is the entity in which our program runs underneath, right? So you have Vermont Slauson, which is what you've been trying to get support and things from. My program is EMI. And then we have different programs and departments. What happens sometimes is you're a client of Vermont Slauson. Maybe you are in my program, but maybe not. But you're a client of Vermont Slauson, and what we end up have happen on the EMI side is that individuals are looking for their support and their services through the VSCDC. They come to our program, they say, oh, I tried to get, help, whatever. Have you been assigned an advisor? No, so, good point. All right, there we go. So if you're in the EMI program, and I'll talk to you a little bit more after because not everyone here is in the program, so this won't make a whole lot of sense. If you're in the program, in our 8-week Entrepreneurship Academy, we give you dedicated business advisors to help you do the program. That's Camille, that's actually Derek. We have Virginia who does all of our behind the scenes live planning, all of that. And we have one more advisor, and then things get escalated up to me. If you're with Vermont Slauson, those are whole different advisors, and they're just business advisors that are there. So I heard you say Roxy. So that sounds like that's who your assigned business advisor was through BSCDC. Derek is because you're in our program. So talk to me after and let me see if I can connect you with Roxy and let her know that you're looking for services that you need to receive. Let's see if we can get that resolved for you. Okay.
Here. So 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to actually make a comment in regards to Regis and co-working spaces. I was an operational manager for Regis for many years. And as a new business or a nonprofit business, these are spaces that you can utilize to look very professional if you have important meetings. You can rent a conference room, you can rent an office, but what happens with, like the lady was talking about the addresses, is that they start to target, especially with the banks, now, the banks are now physical locations that actually make
And then as I was meeting with people, and they would have to go to see security, you walk up and say, Bear Truth is there, and I always wanted my own, so because then they would move me around every time I booked it, so it wasn't as expensive, so that you can still use this reader's office, and my office is in the U.S. Bank building downtown, so I'm on the 28th floor, right? So then as you do that too, now you're either on the 26th or the 28th, so now people gotta come and get buzzed up to your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you put that little thing on yours. And it say your company name for 2 hours.
When they
come. When you leave.
Just go and slide that out.
Right.
I'm not about that. Listen, entrepreneurship is about grit, and sometimes you gotta get in those spaces. And I think Mark did a phenomenal job of dropping some of those little gems. Like, you really gotta get creative, like putting the RE in front of the emails that you've already applied. It's those types of things that really moves the needle on things. So, yeah, sometimes it's better to move in than ask permission. Y'all know that quote.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this. Thank you. Remember for me too.
So I have a question. When I first bought my domain, and I wanted to do 8 files before they turned into Z. So I'm already there. They already filed my stuff, and they say, okay, we took out this money to refile your stuff. Great. But I stopped paying for my .org email because I thought I could still get it once I found the platform I wanted to do my website through. And so I'm doing it through Canva. But I'm using a .com, and I was hearing certain feedback of when you do business, they're gonna look at your email. gmail.com may not look so great if it's not your .org. So I want to know, how do I get my .org email back so that I technically bought it in a bundle?
Yeah, so right now, just go to GoDaddy.com and see if the domain is available.
To refer?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a little nuanced, so let me know what you find out. But the thing is, you do want to make sure, when you are able, I know we're not always able, to have a professional email, right? Like, you might start off with a Gmail, that's fine, but as you get in a position, make sure that you have it at your organization URL, okay? I don't want you to stop because you don't have that email address, right? Continue to kind of do the work on the ground, but once you get there, make that transition. And then if it becomes where you're like, well, everybody has this email address, you can just have it forwarded, that's not a problem, all right?
All right, guys, we've got about 5 more minutes for questions before we give you the 30 minutes of networking, and I'll just kind of go over the form that Rashonda put together for action planning, and then I'll make myself available if you have any specific questions on anything that's in the form of Rashonda as well. Oh, yeah, so then I'll let Rashonda do that, but then we'll take that last 30 minutes for networking. So we'll take about 4 more questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so I had a situation where I used another nonprofit's address. It was a physical street address, right, for my nonprofit. But then we had a change, we had a difference in ethics, right? So if she was wrapping Christmas presents for the children, I came to help, and she was butt naked throughout the Christmas presents. So then I made a mistake of saying, but seriously, I made a mistake of saying that her breasts looked like the eyes of Mr. Magoo.
Oh my God.
Because I couldn't tell, and so she wouldn't give me my mail so I could do the statement of information, right? And then change the address. So I wrote the Secretary